Good evening. I would like to call to order the regular meeting of the Newport News School Board for Tuesday, June 15th, 2021. On behalf of the members of the school board and the superintendent, I welcome each of you watching. A quorum is present to transact the business of the school division. The COVID-19 pandemic has had an unprecedented effect on all of us. We are all adapting to this new way of conducting business, and the school board is as well. Personal barriers are installed between members of the board, and our staff and visitors are masked and socially distanced in the auditorium, in compliance with the governor's orders. We are taking these steps to ensure the health and well-being of our staff and the public. We value and appreciate your partnership. We will begin tonight's meeting with an invocation. Here to do us the honors is Ms. Maynard, Newport News PTA President. Ms. Maynard.
Good evening, Chairman Brown, members of the board, and Dr. Parker. Thank you all for having me this evening. I would like to share a few words from PTA colleagues as we close out the end of the school year. As we come together today, we are all asking for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting. Give us the desire to find ways to excel in our work. Help us to work together and encourage others towards excellence. We ask that we would challenge each other to reach higher and further as we be the best that we can. We would like to extend congratulations to the class of 2021. We wish you much success. We would also like to wish everyone a happy and safe summer. Please stand as we say the pledge. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Ms. Maynard. All right, the next item on tonight's agenda is school board recognitions. And Dr. Parker, I believe we have some notable recognitions tonight.
Yes, sir. We have a big recognition this evening. It's bittersweet, but we definitely enjoyed last week seeing the class of 2021 graduate. This evening, we are here to recognize and honor our student representative of the school board, Mr. Jordan Moody, who will be moving on to bigger and better things at Norfolk State University. Go Spartans. And we will have a special presentation for Mr. Moody at this time.
Good evening. On behalf of the school board and the superintendent, I am pleased to present this month's recognitions. Our first recognition, as Dr. Parker indicated, is an acknowledgement of service for Jordan D. Moody, the student representative to the school board. Mr. Moody, would you please come down? In honor of his distinguished service to the school board and Newport News Public Schools, he is receiving a resolution and an award. The resolution reads, whereas the Newport News School Board approved in 2004 the creation of the position of student representative to the school board to increase board awareness of the views of students and to provide a peer with whom students could share ideas for improving education. And whereas Jordan D. Moody, a senior at Woodside High School at the time, now a graduate, was elected according to the approved procedures by the members of the Student Advisory Group on Education. And whereas Mr. Moody, in this capacity, from July 2020 through June 2021, faithfully attended meetings of the school board, participating in numerous other school board functions, and whereas Mr. Moody actively sought student ideas on educational issues and pursued information and experiences that would assist his efforts to provide valuable insights during the discussion of school board meeting agenda items. And whereas Mr. Moody made meaningful contributions to board discussion on topics of great significance to students and the community. And whereas Mr. Moody diligently fulfilled all the duties of the position of student representative, while also continuing to excel in his advanced coursework, serving and volunteering with the Newport News Mayor's Youth Commission, the Citywide Student Council Association Executive Board, the Newport News Young Adult Police Commission, the Woodside High School Student Athletic Leadership Team, and the Woodside High School's Principal Advisory Committee, performing with the All-State Symphonic Band as a saxophonist, receiving the Newport News Public Schools Rise Male Empowerment Conference Emerging Leader Award, the Newport News Public Schools World Changer Award, and the Hampton Roads Community Action Program Youth Leadership Award, and being named as a Hampton Roads Committee of 200+ Men Scholar. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the School Board of Newport News that Jordan D. Moody is highly commended for exemplary service, dedication, and commitment to his tenure as a student representative to the school board. In witness thereof, we are here to set our hands this 15th day of June 2021, and it is signed by all the members of the school board and the superintendent. Congratulations and thank you.
Take your mask off. Don't you take your mask off.
No, they're so used to it. Everybody's so used to it.
Our next recognition honors our superintendent, Dr. George Parker. He doesn't know. Last month, the school board voted to recognize Dr. Parker as one of the Virginia Superintendents of the Year. He is also going to be presented with a resolution. I'll ask the board to join us down here, please.
Okay.
Group effort.
The school board voted unanimously on this recognition last month, and while they are joining us down here by the podium, I'd like to read just a portion of it. Resolution of recognition presented to Dr. George Parker. Recognition of 133 Virginia Public School Division superintendents as Superintendents of the Year for 2020-21. Whereas in order to ensure the health and safety of all Virginians, schools across the Commonwealth closed on March 13, 2020, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and most have provided virtual instruction since then as in-person teaching and learning evolved. And whereas individual school divisions retain the autonomy to decide whether or not new instruction would continue and the format in which the instruction would be presented. And whereas stable and consistent leadership by the local school division superintendents have been vital in serving children through this pandemic. Whereas school division superintendents are responsible for the health, safety, welfare, and education of each child while creating school cultures, even within a pandemic, that serve all children regardless of their circumstances. Whereas public school division superintendents utilize guidance from the Centers of Disease Control, the Virginia Department of Health, Virginia Department of Education, local health departments, and local case data in fulfilling leadership responsibilities in their communities like no other time in their careers. And whereas local school division superintendents work collaboratively with their school boards, educators, parents, and community stakeholders in providing technology, resources, curriculum content, emotional support, and meals to children during the pandemic. And whereas traditionally the Virginia Association of School Superintendents, Superintendents of the Year, have been selected via a diverse panel of education associations after reviewing an individual superintendent's ability to demonstrate leadership for learning, communication, professionalism, and community involvement. And whereas all 133 Virginia Public School Division superintendents have extraordinarily exhibited these qualities while leading their school divisions and communities during the 2020-21 school year. And whereas the vast Board of Directors agreed on January 7, 2021, to suspend the traditional selection of determining a single superintendent of the year, and unanimously agreed to recognize and honor all Virginia Public School Division superintendents as Superintendents of the Year for 2020-2021. Whereas VASS is appreciative of the Virginia School Boards Association supporting this resolution and the honor provided to each division superintendent by having his respective school board present this resolution to the superintendent to be recognized within the community for which he serves and leads. Now therefore be it resolved that the Newport News School Board does hereby recognize Dr. George Parker as a Virginia Superintendent of the Year for 2020-2021 as designated by the Virginia Association of School Superintendents. And again, this was signed, voted on by the board and signed and attested to by the clerk. Congratulations, Dr. Parker.
I think you have a good picture right here. Got it? All right. We're getting close.
It's you to be in the middle today, Dr. Parker.
Thank you, and again, we want to wish congratulations, and we want to say thank you to the student representative to the school board, Jordan Moody, and again, congratulations on your graduation, and to our superintendent, Dr. George Parker, on being named Superintendent of the Year. Before I sit down, I'd like to introduce to you our next student representative to the school board, Amaya Patterson, who is a rising senior at Woodside High School. Amaya, would you please stand up, please? Amaya will begin her term of service in July of 2021, so we look forward to working with you as well. And again, congratulations on your selection. At this time, we're going to take a brief recess, and those of you who are watching may have an opportunity to view this month's school board spotlight. So we'll stand in recess for about 6 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. School board members, we're going to
The Newport News Education Foundation exists to support the school division's efforts to prepare students for a prosperous future. We serve as the facilitator in the community, encouraging dialogue between the business and education communities. Our goal is to enrich the quality of teaching and learning by strengthening innovation through sustained partnerships.
The Newport News Education Foundation knows that a well-educated community is the base of a strong society and a thriving economy. For almost 3 decades, the Newport News Education Foundation has been working in partnership with the school division to achieve these goals. Starting in 1992, the foundation supported the school division's efforts to bring technology into the classroom. Today, students literally have access to the world thanks to a robust internet system and classrooms that connect to some of the best learning opportunities under the sun. Over the years, the foundation has kept public education on the front burner of public discussion by hosting several business and education summits. And through the annual Salute to Success Student Recognition Celebration, the foundation promotes the value of academic and career preparation. honoring high school students at the top of their class and students who earned 4 or more industry certifications. Supporting classroom teachers is another foundation priority. Through the Teacher Innovation Mini Grant Program, the foundation has donated nearly $200,000 to fund effective and innovative ideas for classroom instruction. These classroom-based projects help inspire and motivate more than 1,000 students each year. The foundation is also helping grow the next generation of teachers for Newport News. The Wayne D. Letts Scholars Program provides a $10,000 scholarship to Newport News seniors who are entering college to become a teacher. Several Letts Scholars are now teaching in our schools. Brittany Lahr, the first Letts Scholar, is a teacher at Denby High School. She was named the Denby Teacher of the Year in 2020 and credits the Letts Scholarship for supporting her choice to become an educator. The foundation is also working to ensure that students are prepared for high-tech, high-wage jobs that are key to economic prosperity. That's why it applied for and won 2 major grants from Newport News Shipbuilding, Huntington Ingalls Industries. One grant funds the NNPS Early Career Welding Program, in which students earn welding certifications from Thomas Nelson Community College while in high school. The other grant focuses on developing a system to help students learn workforce skills to become the digital shipbuilders of tomorrow.
We believe that our work to help students thrive through teacher mini grants, scholarships, and workforce preparation programs is important to our community, and we invite you to learn more about and support these efforts.
With an aeronautical industry constantly growing through technological advances, Aviation Academy at Denby High School is adapting quickly to prepare students to be career-ready through cutting-edge learning opportunities, one of which is assisting students in earning their remote pilot certification to legally fly drones. Years ago, unmanned aerial vehicles were only read about in science fiction novels. Today, over 800,000 drones are registered with the FAA for commercial and recreational use. This school year, 3 Aviation Academy students have become licensed drone pilots. Seniors Robert Arrington and Ethan Williams, along with junior Bryce Spain, have passed the Aeronautical Knowledge Exam and can now legally earn money by flying drones. Studying for the exam can be done online through courseware offered by Aviation Academy. The Academy also partners with RIC Aviation at Newport News Williamsburg International Airport, which is a certified flight school to administer the knowledge test. Several unique courses offered at Aviation Academy more than prepared these students to earn their drone piloting license, as they gained firsthand knowledge about flight operations, safely operating small unmanned aircraft, airspace classifications, and aviation maintenance. Aviation maintenance technology instructor Dwayne Hill is an invaluable resource for the students since he already has his FAA Part 107 license. From here, these young pilots can use their certification to become a drone instructor, capture aerial photos for real estate agents, fly drones for the military, inspect cellular towers for large companies, assist with search and rescue efforts from a unique vantage point, or start their own business. Whichever career pathway these students choose, their flight ahead will be marked by personal and career successes. Students at 8 Newport News Public Schools use creativity, engineering skills, and teamwork to help collect food for local families. For the 10th year, the Youth Volunteer Corps of Hampton Roads hosted the Can Structure Competition. Because of statewide restrictions, the format of this annual event was adapted to include a virtual option and allow teams to build at their own sites. Before the donations could be delivered to the Virginia Peninsula Food Bank, teams were able to design and build their own impressive themed structures made out of non-perishable canned goods. 16 teams from across Hampton Roads competed in the friendly competition, which raised over 10,000 pounds of food and almost $800 in monetary gifts. All 8 NNPS student teams were recognized for their generous efforts. Point Option High School placed second among teams who gathered together to build their structures, while Heritage High School placed first in the same category. The 5800 family was also recognized for collecting the most food in the competition this year. Among the teams who competed virtually, by working together through Zoom meetings to create a digital representation of the structure, Riverside Elementary won first place and Minchville High was runner-up. Newsom Park, Saunders, and Sedgefield Elementary Schools, along with Hines Middle School, all received superlative awards for teamwork, excellence, and outstanding fundraising efforts. Through all of these accomplishments, students, teachers, and families proved their willingness and abilities to help others in our local community.
Welcome back. We hope you enjoyed this month's School Board Spotlight. During our regular meetings, we provide time for the public to address the board. These opportunities are scheduled in the early part of our agenda and also towards the end of our meeting. The school board recognizes that during the pandemic, some members of the public may not be able to join us in person. As advertised, citizens may submit comments via a web form, email, or voicemail up to 30 minutes prior to our meeting time to be included in the official meeting record. For those of you joining us in person, the board considers this an opportunity not to respond to your comments, but to listen to your comments. Please understand that we will consider your concerns and get back with you at a later time. We ask that you comply with our 3-minute time limit. As your comments begin, a green light will come on. A yellow light signals that you have 30 seconds remaining, and a red light indicates that your time is up, and we ask that you conclude your remarks. As your name is called, please come forward. This time I have one card, and I believe it is Delegate Shelley Simons.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Greetings from the Virginia House of Delegates. I want to thank each and every one of you for your dedication and your hard work and your innovation during this unprecedented pandemic that we had. I know you all felt like you were in the hot seat, and in a sense you were. I remember hearing the governor said, "Oh, well, we'll just let the school boards decide what to do about the schools." And I knew that you all were going to have to rise to the occasion, but you did great work, so we were watching and we really appreciate everything you did. People have asked me if I enjoy being in the General Assembly after having worked so hard to get there, and I'm happy to report that I really do enjoy it. But I miss serving with you all, but I still feel like I'm on the teacher team and the school board team when I'm up in Richmond, so I'm trying to fight for public education. This year, I had the pleasure of serving on the House Education Committee, and I helped pass legislation to give teachers a 5% raise and increase per pupil funding for our students. And we gave schools more money to hire counselors and behavior specialists, which I think is going to be especially important as we make sure our students come back to school and help them with some of the stress that I think that they suffered in the last year. And many of you know that I am passionate about STEM education. I'm always pushing for computer science. And I'm pleased to say that in the last legislative session, I had 2 bills pass in this area. One created a new STEM education advisory board, and another was a bill to require a review of how we are doing teaching computer science in the Commonwealth so that we know the gaps and we know where we need to move forward so that we can serve more students in the Commonwealth. And looking to the future, there are 2 issues that we're really working on in the General Assembly. I think there's a lot of consensus around them. First is that we need to bring teacher pay up to the national average. And my colleagues talk about this constantly. And we're going to try to get that done. The other thing is school construction. And I have been appointed to the Commission on School Construction and Modernization. And we are really pushing for state financing for school construction. We need a state solution. Saying the state doesn't get involved with school building is just not good enough when we've got crumbling schools all across Virginia. So I'm going to keep fighting on that, and just wanted to give you an update and see you all, because I miss my colleagues, and it's great to be back.
Good to see
Great to see you as well, Delegate Simons.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, Madam Clerk, do we have any additional cards? All right. There being no additional cards, we thank you for your comments this evening and thoughts this evening. Delegate Simon, it's always great to see you, and thank you for coming to visit us. We'll now move on to Section 3, which is the consent agenda. That includes items 3.01 minutes from the regular session on May 18, 2021, 3.02 minutes from the work session on May 18, 2021, 3.03 minutes from the special meeting on May 18, 2021, 3.04 financial reports, including the revenue report for May 2021, the expense report for May 2021, and the child nutrition services report for May 2021. All right. Is there a motion to adopt the consent agenda?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Hunter. Now time for discussion. Any questions? Yes, Madam Vice Chair.
Yes. As I reviewed the consent agenda, I did see that we will be making our application for the CARES Act coming up in August. And so I just thought it would be great for the public to kind of hear what that timeline is from Dr. Parker.
Yes, yes, ma'am. Over the summer, we will be engaging with several of our community supporters in the planning process to put together an application for CARES Act funding for CARES Act 3 funding that will be that goes until 2024. While some of our needs may change over that time, we are required to submit a budget, an application which includes a budget for approximately $82 million of CARES Act spending over that time. 20% must be spent on learning loss for our students' instructional needs, and then there's a variance in terms of how the remaining funds can be spent, mostly COVID-related expenses as a result of the pandemic. That application will be due the beginning of August, and we would like to engage the public in terms of how we would regarding that package. So we'll involve the community in that process. We'll put a committee together, and hopefully also be able to engage with the board as we develop that application to go in. And again, the application, once submitted, there's still plenty of opportunities to make revisions to the application along the way. But I'm sure the federal government will want to know how that money, what we're earmarking that money for, and do we have a plan on how to utilize that in the best interest of our students. So that's the process that will take place. We're already starting to have formative meetings with departments around the needs of our students and our schools as we move beyond the pandemic.
Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions? Well, Dr. Parker, I'll ask one question about the investment report. So I believe there was a time when the investment committee was looking at some more index funds in the fund that would be no load cost, kind of streamline some of the costs in the fund. Has any more progress been made in terms of adding more index funds to our investment portfolio for those plans?
That's a good question. I'll ask Mrs. Hotz. I know her team is working with the investment report. Ms. Hotz, did you hear that question?
Yes, sir, and I don't have that with me, but if you'll let me get in contact with our consultant, then I'll send that to you. Okay.
Excellent. Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. Any other questions? All right. There being none, Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Hunter?
4.
Mrs. Searles Law?
4.
Mrs. Amon?
4.
Dr. Best?
4.
Mr. Ely?
4.
Mr. Brown?
4.
Motion carries 6-0.
All right. Thank you. Next item on our agenda is Section 4. So now we're in action items. First item is 4.01, our federal funding applications. Dr. Parker?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. At the May meeting, Mrs. Verinda Robinson, our Supervisor of Federal Programs, presented the federal funding application to the board and the community. That application is here tonight, and they're seeking your approval of that application so it can move forward as planned. And if you have any questions, we have staff here to assist with responding.
All right. So at this time, we have a motion to approve our federal funding applications.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we approve our federal fund application.
Thank you, Dr. Best. Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you, Mr. Hunter. Second. Any questions? All right. There being none, Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Hunter,
4.
Mrs. Searles Law,
4.
Mrs. Amon,
4.
Dr. Best,
4.
Mr. Ely,
4.
Mr. Brown.
4.
Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you. Next item on our agenda is 4.02, which is new and revised policies and chapter review. Dr. Parker.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, those chapter revisions were presented by Mrs. Brooks at the May meeting, and she is here this evening as well. Should any board members have any questions regarding the policies that are up for consideration and approval this evening?
All right, thank you. At this time, we have a motion to approve our new and revised policies chapter.
Mr. Chair, make a motion for approval of the new and revised policies and chapters.
Thank you, Mr. Hunter. Is there a second?
Second.
A second from Madam Vice Chair. All right, any questions? There being none, Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Hunter,
4.
Mrs. Searles Law,
4.
Mrs. Amon,
4.
Dr. Best,
4.
Mr. Ely,
4.
Mr. Brown.
4.
Motion carries 6-0.
All right, that takes us to Section 5, Reports and Information. So 5.01 is an update on the Return to Learn plan. Dr. Parker, I believe maybe this will be the last one. This is the last one of this year.
Under this title, we have returned to learn, but we appreciate it. Every month we provide an update to the board on how we are progressing under the pandemic. This evening being no different. This will be our final return to learn update for the 2021 school year as we transition into the summer and prepare for returning students for the fall with the majority of our students in in-person instruction. So this evening we will follow a similar format. Mrs. Rousseau will start us off. We'll have an instructional update and a little bit of information that we've collected along the way from our team of presenters. So we'll start off with Mrs. Rousseau, and she'll turn it over, I believe, to Dr. Menglemont. And is Mr. Wright in this presentation this evening? Are we? All right. Well, okay. So those are the two. So it's you two this evening. All right. So we'll start off with Mrs. Rousseau. Ma'am.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Dr. Parker, and good evening, Mr. Brown, Ms. Searles Law, and members of the board. I do want to start with the current mitigation strategies. The state guidance that we have is to continue using the mitigation strategies we've been using as we move into summer school. We do expect new guidance sometime in July for the fall, and as we get that, of course, we'll share that with you in the community. Our community transmission remains low and, in fact, continues to fall, which is great. And that being the case, physical distancing of 3 feet is sufficient for all students at all levels in our school buildings. Adults should still maintain 6 feet of distance from each other and from students. Everyone inside a K-12 school is still required to wear a mask at all times. That's our teachers, our staff, and our visitors. While outside, students and staff may remove their masks if they're able to keep 6 feet apart. If not, masks still should be worn. Our fully vaccinated staff members that are in schools and offices may remove their masks when students are not present. And of course, proper hygiene and cleaning measures should continue at our schools. And I think, Dr. Parker, I'm going to pinch it for Mr. Wright regarding student vaccinations. Newport News Public Schools has partnered with the City of Newport News and the Peninsula Health District to host a Pfizer COVID-19 clinic for students aged 12 and up tomorrow, Wednesday, June 16th, from 1 to 4 in the afternoon at Warwick High School. Parents and guardians may register their student for an appointment by visiting our website, nnschools.org. Parents and guardians must also complete a consent form for each student. Vaccine clinic consent forms are available on the website and in all school offices and at the Newport News Public Schools Administration Building. Bus transportation to and from the vaccine clinic is available for students. Students must bring a signed consent form with them to the vaccine clinic. Students who do not have a signed consent form will not be able to receive the vaccine. We don't want that to happen, so parents, please make sure that you send your student with a consent form so they can get their vaccine. So we're happy to have this opportunity to provide this service for our students to get them ready for the summer and fall. So that's all for the safety part of the presentation. I'll turn it over now to Dr. Mangelmott, Teaching and Learning.
Good evening. Pleasure to be here tonight. We're going to present just a few timely updates from our teaching and learning team for you. The first thing I want to do before I begin presenting is just a huge shout out and thank you to our teachers who are dedicating their summer to teach our students in summer school. When I was here with you last May, if you remember, I told you, not last May, but this past board meeting, that I told you that we had invited so many students, but we didn't have enough teachers at that time. We put out a second plea. Dr. Parker put something in the R2L Weekly for our teachers, and they stepped up to the plate. And we have plenty of teachers to teach all the students that we're inviting for summer school K through 12 right now. So we're real excited about that. So if you're at home and you're hearing me, I know you've worked hard all year long, and we just want to say thank you for your continued dedication. As far as numbers for Spark, you know, we had 8 elementary sites. 4 were pre-K through 2, and we were doing 4 more that were 3 through 5. We had to consolidate grades 3 through 5 into 3 sites. We did not minimize the number of students we could serve. We just consolidated based on administrative placement. So just wanted to let you know that. We sent out 1,509 invitations to our students. So far, we've had 275 that RSVP that they could not attend summer school. But I want you to know that we're not sitting on those 275 seats. We are trying to fill those seats. So we identified Tier 3 students. I spoke to you last month about the Tier 3. So now we're looking at Tier 2 students to move them into our summer program. You can see that we have 36 of our transition to English and newcomer students, and we also have 258 self-contained students with disabilities coming to the summer program. 71 of them are our little, what Dr. Mitchell likes to call her, our little peepers, you know, our most youngest learners. As far as our middle school, we have 292 students were invited based on our data. Again, that's mathematics and reading instruction. And so far we had 69 RSVP that they could not come. We have 22 of our English and newcomer populations coming and 114 self-contained students with disabilities coming for our summer program. For Summer Spark, for our high school, we have 2 sessions, if you remember. We have session 1, which begins, and then 4 weeks later, session 2. We have 401 students right now currently in session 1. 289 are credit recovery, 112 are student advancement, so they're taking a course to advance their studies. Well, our most popular classes, believe it or not, were geometry and algebra 2, economics and personal finance, and then outdoor education and health and driver's ed. Session 2, our numbers are low, but you know kids are going to get those report cards, and then they're going to be like, I may want to come to summer school. So right now we have 95 students, and our most popular classes for advancement are Algebra 1, Geometry and Algebra 2, and Outdoor Education and Health and Driver's Education. Again, numbers are expected to grow. I want to take a moment to say that we also have established, we can only send out 1,500 invites to elementary, so many invites to middle school. So what about the rest of our population? So we have set up virtual portals for both our elementary, and we have a virtual option for our middle school. I want to give a huge shout out to our director of elementary, our executive director of curriculum and development for putting this work together very quickly. Their supervisors and specialists and people in the building supporting them and helping them have really developed a dynamic program for our students. You can see here we have a little on the right, the summer learning. That's the portal for our elementary students. It is online learning for all students pre-K through 5. It is not based on like your level of reading. It's not based on your level of mathematics. It's to garner interest and to keep our kids learning over the summer. There are activities in mathematics and literacy, and they are weekly activities. So there is something for every week for every single grade level. That was a lot of work, and it's just dynamic, and I'm actually very proud of the team. There are summer reading challenges embedded throughout. The summer reading challenges are partnered with Newport News Public Schools, where we want our students, at least if you don't want to partake in the online program, please take part of the reading challenges. And there's a kickoff on June 21st outside the main library, and you can go to the Newport News Public Library website to find out a little bit more information. There's even a program that has read 1,000 books before kindergarten, which I'm like, have I even read 1,000 books in my lifetime? So there is that challenge that's out there for students. They also developed a family guide to helping students at home, their children at home. It asks like questions, what are your guiding questions for your students? How can you provide feedback? Just some really good stuff. It's online, but they can also print it out. The best thing is students can work at their own pace any day that they want and any time that they want to learn that. So if mom and dad, you're on vacation in week 1 and you come back week 2, you're not missing anything. Start into week 2 and begin. Just jump on in. You don't have to start on Monday. Start on Wednesday if you want to. So you can pretty much start at any place that you want. For our middle school kids, and again, we're going to pretend like that image doesn't say elementary, all right? So don't ignore my little mistake right there. But this is for all students grades 6 through 12. It's math and English independent work with division programs. So what do we mean by that? Is the students will either do IXL activities, which is our online mathematics program, which also has diagnostic tools in it to help guide students. And there's No Red Ink and Newsela, and of course just picking up a book and reading is available to students as well. The best part about this is we will have a live facilitator via Zoom on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 9 to 12 p.m. And they're going to help students goal set. They're going to answer questions for students. They're going to provide feedback to them. And there's also, got to have a little fun in summer school. So there's a 2x2 challenge. So you can do 2 activities at least 2 days a week. And if you do that all 8 weeks, at the end there's going to be a big celebration and certificates for our students. Registration will begin on June 17th and end June 24th. We're going to have forms sent home, but there are also forms on the website for our students and parents to register. I have to, again, just give kudos to our Director of Employee Development and her team who have put together a dynamic summer virtual learning for our teachers. Learning never ends, regardless of what grade level or how old you are, and there are over 121 sessions offered this summer for our teachers. That is an incredible amount of professional learning. We are kicking it off, which we're really excited about, with the Blended Learning Conference, which is June 22nd. It will be in the afternoon if you want to come. Just contact me and we will get you registered. We have Catlin Tucker coming, who is a renowned expert in blended learning. And not only is Catlin coming and doing 2 sessions, our supervisors are also pooling teams together. So Catlin talks about what does blended learning look like for secondary, but then our elementary is going to pull it in and say this is what it's going to look like in 2nd grade to really personalize the experience for our teachers. It is going to run all summer long through August 11th, but there are really 2 main focus weeks where we have the majority of our sessions being held, and that's June 22nd through June 24th, and again, August 2nd through the 5th. And again, all supervisors and specialists in teaching and learning, I was looking through the pamphlet, have offered sessions to teachers, but we also had teacher leaders step up and also want to give sessions, and reading specialists. So, that's pretty impressive. They worked hard all year long, and here they are wanting to share their knowledge with their peers. As you know, last month we talked about the 2 options for virtual learning next year. There is an option for parents who are still a little nervous about the return to school because of the pandemic, and it runs through the first semester. We currently have only 185 students whose families have opted to keep them home virtually. so in the fall of 2021. And you can, if you look at the numbers, the highest numbers are kids that are probably 12 years old and under. So I see as hopefully maybe we vaccinate more kids, we can go under, then maybe that will drop as well. Our Virtual Learning Academy has kicked off. We have 254 students who have applied. Believe it or not, I didn't expect as many full-time. I expected more part-time, like a student who wants to take an 8th class to advance. But we only had 68 students interested in part-time. The majority were full-time, so 186 students full-time. You can see that it's pretty well distributed between the grade levels 9 through 12. Last time we spoke, we thought we would only be able to service 11th and 12th graders, but we believe with these numbers we can service 9 through 12. So we're excited about that. Next steps for parents and students that are listening at home, because I'm getting a lot of, have I been accepted? Our next steps is our school counselors are currently meeting with students and parents to talk with them. They're developing their virtual schedules. And from a division level, we will send a notification through Student View to students, and they will also have their course list and teachers. We are also beginning teacher hiring and training. Teacher hiring will be soon for students or teachers who are interested. And any teacher who wants to be teach online for us will take the Canvas Certified Educator course to make sure that they are credentialed to teach online. And of course, ongoing professional learning on online methodology as well. So this concludes my updates for today. I didn't put a slide for assessment. Again, SOL testing is still going on through tomorrow, and then the state window closes on the 24th of June.
Thank you. Mr. Ely.
Thank you for that amazing presentation. Are we doing like a ad campaign, I guess, to get kids back into school for next year? Even though virtual is good, I do feel 100% that having kids in school is the best option. So are we doing something to let parents know that it's safe and basically send your kids to school because we need them there?
Yeah. Well, I'll answer that. There was a state call with the state superintendent today, and they have a study that was conducted in May to see the interest in parent and students returning in the fall. They did break down that data by ethnicity, and Caucasian was around 88%. Hispanic and African American were around 66%, 66 and 68. So we are a little concerned. While our numbers show that our staff did a wonderful job of getting good information out. We only have 185 requests at this point. When you see that disparity of students who the interest in returning in person, it means that we need to continue to market, as you're saying, Ms. Dealey, the importance of and the benefit of in-person instruction next year, and understand that their virtual learners are a set profile. Every student doesn't do well virtually. So we will continue to do our part as we build our plan for the fall, as we continue to support the vaccination efforts throughout this year, and through Summer Spark, we'll continue to encourage students and parents to consider in-person learning in the fall, and be assured that we will make sure that our environment is safe for their students. Because I believe that those students who chose the Virtual Learning Academy, we feel they'll be successful because they want to be there and they're going to commit to the structure. However, we know that it's not the best environment for every student. And students benefit from the relationships, the social development, and everything in in-person instruction that we'd like to offer. So there is some disparity. I plan on sharing that report to the board and the community, probably at the August board meeting. We'll get that information and be ready to share that, and then compare that to how our data is looking at it. And right now, just based on these numbers, it looks like our data is trending in the right direction.
Thank you, Mr. Ely. Mr. Hunter.
Thank you for the wonderful report. Looking at this pandemic virtual learning K-12 fall 21, no 12th graders, huh?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's rising 11th graders.
So it's rising 11th
yeah.
graders.
Mm-hmm.
So that means, so we don't have 6
mm-hmm.
seniors
mm-hmm.
that are staying home from, okay.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Very good. Okay.
Yeah.
We get those 6 back.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
And those virtual learners at any point can transition back to in-person instruction. So we'll have a seat ready for them at any point if they choose to change their mind and want to come into in-person instruction.
So can it be can it be a child say, Okay, I want to do virtual. Okay, I want to go to school. Okay, I want to do virtual. Is it going to be something set in stone where it's not? You could choose. It's
more transitioning back in to in-person instruction. It'll be a little difficult to transition during the year back and forth between different settings. We always had instances where a student may need to be home, do home learning for a portion of time, whatever it may be, whether it's their health, maybe it's a traumatic situation, maybe it's a disciplinary problem. But those type of transitions we now can accommodate at a much more reasonable pace because we have the technology to do so. But the transition that we will guarantee is from virtual back to in-person instruction. If someone starts off the year and says, hey, I can do better in school, we'll make sure we have a seat for them.
I like that we're able to do this now with technology. So even with suspensions, it should be now no kid is really suspended for school because we have the technology now where they can still learn at home.
Well, they're not suspended from their work anymore.
Right.
The work will follow them wherever they go. We can assure you of that.
Ms. Amon, yes.
Thank you, and thank you for the information. I appreciate it. The numbers, it seems like, are small enough that we're not going to have the situation where, say, a teacher is trying to teach virtual and in-person students at the same time.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. We will utilize Virtual Virginia for those small numbers.
Okay. All right, Dr. Best.
Thank you, Dr. Maglama. Very detailed report. One question, you said because of the numbers you are expanded to include 9th and 10th grade as well. Had you given any further consideration to students like those at Achievable Dream or magnet schools maybe being a part of virtual?
Yeah, we would really like that, but for the first year it'd be too difficult just because of the types of classes you have, and I don't think we'll be able to get the teachers to teach. As our numbers grow, like a perfect example is of the 254 students who applied to the Virtual Learning Academy, one student wanted to begin in guitar. It's just not that class would not make virtually because I have one student for beginning guitar. So as numbers grow, we can specialize and move. But I do know that our magnet directors are really saying that, we can take certain classes online, like your government and your math, but things that in the magnet program really should be face-to-face. And we're going to try to listen to them. They know their program best. They know how students learn best. And like I said, we have room to grow. So I will never say never, but right now the answer is we would like them to stay at their magnet programs and their school.
Thank you.
Okay.
My question got answered.
Oh, good. Excellent. Thank you, Dr. Mangala.
You're welcome.
So then that will take us on to item 5.02. We have our Partners Education Foundation update.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this evening we have Mrs. Jane DiVincenzo, the president-elect of the Newport News Education Foundation and a financial planner at Family CFO Services. And she will provide greetings on behalf of the Education Foundation and an update from the foundation program, from the foundation.
No, thank you, Dr. Parker. It's always a challenge to say DiVincenzo, and there will not be a test after this for that. But thank you all so much for having us here, and I am honored to represent as a member of the Newport News Education Foundation Board this evening. We're excited to share some of the things we've done and what we hope to accomplish and to partner with all of you further. And I really appreciate Mrs. Searles Law, Mrs. Ammon, Mr. Ely, of course Mr. Hunter we see frequently. But those of you who are able to visit our meetings, it's been wonderful to have you, and your input is really valuable. We believe that a strong collaboration between excellent schools, which we have here in Newport News, and businesses is essential for developing career-ready students, and we're here to support those collaborations. Throughout our history, we've had over 150 different businesses represented on our board. We understand that we all have to work together to raise awareness of the countless successes in Newport News Public Schools and to attract and prepare students for careers in Newport News so they stay around, like we hope Mr. Mooney does. So we obviously want to make sure to get the word out that Newport News is a great place to move your family and attend schools here and attract businesses to our city. We believe folks folks here and coming here need to hear about our success stories. We have a short clip prepared that we wanted to share with you.
The Newport News Education Foundation exists to support the school division's efforts to prepare students for a prosperous future. We serve as the facilitator in the community, encouraging dialogue between the business and education communities. Our goal is to enrich the quality of teaching and learning by strengthening innovation through sustained partnerships.
The Newport News Education Foundation knows that a well-educated community is the base of a strong society and a thriving economy. For almost 3 decades, the Newport News Education Foundation has been working in partnership with the school division to achieve these goals. Starting in 1992, the foundation supported the school division's efforts to bring technology into the classroom. Today, students literally have access to the world thanks to a robust internet system and classrooms that connect to some of the best learning opportunities under the sun. Over the years, the foundation has kept public education on the front burner of public discussion by hosting several business and education summits. And through the annual Salute to Success Student Recognition Celebration, the foundation promotes the value of academic and career preparation, honoring high school students at the top of their class and students who earn 4 or more industry certifications. Supporting classroom teachers is another foundation priority. Through the Teacher Innovation Mini Grant Program, the foundation has donated nearly $200,000 to fund effective and innovative ideas for classroom instruction. These classroom-based projects help inspire and motivate more than 1,000 students each year. The foundation is also helping grow the next generation of teachers for Newport News. The Wayne D. Letts Scholars Program provides a $10,000 scholarship to Newport News seniors who are entering college to become a teacher. Several Letts Scholars are now teaching in our schools. Brittany Lahr, the first Letts Scholar, is a teacher at Denby High School. She was named the Denby Teacher of the Year in 2020 and credits the Letts Scholarship for supporting her choice to become an educator. The foundation is also working to ensure that students are prepared for high-tech, high-wage jobs that are key to economic prosperity. That's why it applied for and won 2 major grants from Newport News Shipbuilding, Huntington Ingalls Industries. One grant funds the NNPS Early Career Welding Program, in which students earn welding certifications from Thomas Nelson Community College while in high school. The other grant focuses on developing a system to help students learn workforce skills to become the digital shipbuilders of tomorrow.
We believe that our work to help students thrive through teacher mini-grants, scholarships, and workforce preparation programs is important to our community, and we invite you to learn more about and support these efforts.
Thank you. We'd also like to report here tonight that this year's virtual Salute to Success event raised over $16,500, and with those funds and others, we plan to reward teachers with over $12,000 in grants, and we also hit our goal of $10,000 for the Letts Scholarship. So we're not satisfied with that success. Our engaged board has big plans, and we see opportunities that will allow us to help more teachers and students. And some of these include increasing our fundraising efforts by hiring a full-time foundation director who will help us with fundraising and awareness, creating a business resources directory for teachers and administrators to learn about opportunities, and assigning 1 or more business partners to work directly with high schools, and conducting back-to-business breakfasts for teachers, students, and administrators. So thank you guys all for your time. We look forward to partnering more closely with the school board and supporting and championing our city's hidden gem, the Newport News Public Schools. Thank you guys for your service. Thank you.
Thank you for that wonderful report. All right, we're going to move on now to item 5.03, Rights and Responsibilities Handbook Revisions. Dr. Parker.
Mr. Ransom, we're ready to go anytime if you're ready.
Good evening, Chairman Brown, Vice Chair Searles Law, School Board, and Dr. Parker. As you know, each year I come before you to discuss proposed revisions to the Rights and Responsibilities Handbook. As a reminder, our Rights and Responsibilities Handbook is a tool that helps us in our mission to ensure all students graduate citizen ready. It provides guidance for our students, our families, and our staff, and details the many options we have available to us as we address student conduct. The Virginia Department of Education has asked school districts to shift their mindset to focus on prevention. That requires that we agree upon and understand that behavior is communication. Healthy adults have learned to use words to communicate their needs and feelings most of the time, but students are still learning how to communicate their needs and feelings verbally. So, it is the job of the adults in schools, it is the job of the adults in schools to understand the message that a student is communicating through behavior. Behavior is also learned in a cultural context. What one culture teaches as respectful behavior may be considered disrespectful in another setting. To understand their behavior, we must know the story and see the behavior through their cultural context rather than our own. Behavior is developmental. Science tells us that the human brain does not fully develop decision-making skills until our early to mid-20s, yet we sometimes assume that student behavior is a product of decision-making when often it is not. Behavior is learned and sometimes must be unlearned to adapt to a school environment. That is why in schools we must teach the behaviors we want to see in a school setting. These ideas lie at the foundation of the new Student Behavior and Administrative Response Codes. The Code of Virginia requires school divisions to submit data to VDOE on incidents of discipline, crime, and violence. Current reports contain selected comparisons to prior years. Starting with the 21-22 school year, new behavior descriptors will replace the DCV code that we have all grown so accustomed to using. Some school divisions have already updated their student conduct policies, to reflect the descriptors. Some are in process. By 21-22, all school divisions will use the behavior descriptors from the new Student Behavior and Administrative Response Collection, referred to as SBAR, which describes student behavior without bias and criminalization, and encourages administrators to ask what harm was caused, what caused the behavior, and what is the student communicating. They refocus administrative responses to behavior to being prescriptive regarding the student's social emotional development, and they give the student the opportunity to understand the behavior's impact on the community and to repair the harm caused. There are several phases to our revision process. After reviewing guidelines and recommendations, we began to gather stakeholder input from multiple groups. Finally, our proposals are reviewed by senior staff. Behavior affects the school community. Understanding that effect is a step in restoration and healing for the community and for the person who caused the harm. To shift the mindset from criminal language to developmental approaches, these behavior categories were created. They generate a conversation for understanding the behavior for students and for adults. They begin the restorative conversation about what harm was caused and lead to determining what social emotional learning skill the student may need to develop. The categories are behaviors that impede academic progress, behaviors related to school operations, relationship behaviors, behaviors that present a safety concern, and behaviors that endanger self and others. Delivering disciplinary responses to unwanted behaviors is often a needed but never sufficient strategy for reducing inappropriate behavior. Therefore, leveled systems of disciplinary responses should always be only one part of more comprehensive policy around behavior that includes instructional, preventative, and proactive strategies as described earlier in this presentation. The delivery of disciplinary responses should only serve 4 key functions: preventing a negative behavior from being rewarded, preventing a problem behavior from escalating, preventing a problem behavior from significantly interrupting instruction, and preventing physical and or social emotional harm to others. Now note the difference between our current approach and the new level responses. Rather than offering a few concrete options for administrators, this problem-solving approach allows a school team to identify alternative interventions and responses that include opportunities for learning, acceptable replacement behavior, and addressing the underlying cause. Previously, I mentioned an effort to shift the mindset from criminal language to developmental approaches. In keeping with this goal, we revised some of the language in the handbook. For example, all of the usages of the word charges that didn't refer to an offense under the law were changed to the term rule violation. This wording underscores that our approach to discipline is administrative. We would like to give special recognition to the members of the Student Behavior and Administrative Response Work Group. The commitment and long hours spent shifting the paradigm around behavior and student discipline will greatly benefit generations of Newport News Public School students to come. The Code of Virginia states within 1 calendar month of the opening of school, the principal of each school shall send to the parents and guardians of each student enrolled in the school a copy of the compulsory school attendance requirements of the law and enforcement procedures and policies established by the school board. To promote educational equity and to ensure that all families can access the important information contained in the handbook, an effort was made to expand the languages of translation. In addition to Spanish, we now provide the handbook in Farsi, Arabic, French, Tagalog, and Vietnamese. As a reminder, we seek your approval of the proposed revisions to the Rights and Responsibilities Handbook at the July 1st board meeting. At this time, I'll answer any questions that you may have.
Questions? Yes, Dr. Best.
Okay. I have a question. Thank you for the report.
Yes, ma'am.
And I was very happy to see the behavior categories. And my question to you, I think it's kind of twofold. What was some of the teacher input regarding this? And then how are you working with professional development so that teachers clearly understand what will be transpiring as this new way of doing things?
Well, I think to your first question, the work group immediately recognized our alignment to current practices that we have in Newport News Public Schools. And it was just great to see how the state kind of came together. It all fell in line with, as in your former practice with us in administration, of just how we had interventions, but now we actually have a formalized way of tracking that information of what's actually happened to help inform our practices around it. So they were very happy to see that, especially how it aligns so well with the Virginia Tier Systems of Support, PBIS practices, and all of those things. So as far as our professional development, it's going to happen several ways. I guess initially the first thing we're going to do is we're going to introduce the principals and our assistant principals to our guidebook that's going to accompany the Rights and Responsibilities Handbook. So they're going to have like an extra large Rights and Responsibilities Handbook that actually guides them through all of the processes of investigation, of due process in general, as well as guiding them to what steps they need to take for the particular rule violations that occur. And then from that, we're in development of some pretty much packaged information for those principals to share with their teachers. And through our work with VTSS and our coaches that we have in each building and our cohort coaches, we're going to continue to progress monitor that throughout the school year to help us kind of see where we are and see what revisions we need to make or any booster sessions we need to have.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, Ms. Amon.
And thank you for the report. Will there be a red line or a black line that we can see where we can see the proposed changes? Sometimes when we do in policies and procedures, we'll see the areas that are proposed to be changes, so we can hone in on it and.
I'm sorry.
No, that just so we.
So I think the best way to see it is to take the current Rights and Responsibilities Handbook and open up to the Code of Conduct, and then take the new one and open up to the Code of Conduct, and you will see that how it was reorganized and everything is leveled now in the current one. So currently in this current school year, we have levels. So for instance, on one of my slides, I think I wanted to say slide 7. Slide 7. On slide 7, I had when the incident happened this current year, for instance, for disruptive noises, an administrator will have the option of a level 1, which is a conference, all the way up to a 5-day suspension. Now under the new, under the S-bar, they have an increased number of options, but there's some level, what the team did was they restricted it. So now for this violation, which is not necessarily going to say noises or whatever, for this violation, if they were to address it, they will all be interventions, and the student would not be the administrator would not have the option to suspend the student for it, but they will actually have more options of addressing the actual behavior that's taking place.
Okay, and is that the only area you've made changes for next year, or where else should we look?
So everything related to S-bar. So if you look at the levels as well, so you'll see what the work group did was we looked at all the levels that were presented by the state, and then we looked at the levels that we have. So you'll see those, they're in the front of our current book, but they're going to be right there together in the new book, and you all should have a draft copy of that. And you'll see that they've created more options, but they've also refined, for instance, like in-school suspension. Now you can't just assign any amount of days of in-school suspension. You are limited to the amount of days you're assigned to in-school suspension, which has already been a practice here in Newport News Public Schools for the last several years, and we've been able to save, upwards of 12,000 instructional hours. So we really focus on that middle part of the book as far as making changes. For the most part, everything else outside of the code section remained the same.
Thank you. And Madam Vice Chair, you had a question as well?
A question and a comment. I was very, very happy to see the adjustment in the non-punitive, well, I guess it's all punitive in a matter of speaking, but the language, the previous wording and the revised wording to rule violations. I think that's, that is the spirit that we want to have with our students. I'm just curious about students doing, we're not going to be hybrid learning as much, but more students are going to be online, whether they're going to do our virtual academy or they might have been turned on to Virtual Virginia now. How are we going to be able to manage those based on our rights and responsibilities? Has that been reflected in the new version?
Right. So, based on what's provided in the Rights and Responsibilities Handbook, our reach goes to our virtual school as well. They follow the same guidelines and policies and procedures that we lay out. Also, we have other practices that we put in place with all of our students who are currently online with our matrix that we have set up with just having our common languages and things of that nature. But for the most part, we are able, the Rights and Responsibility addresses any rule violations that occur virtually as well.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I had just two questions or comments. So, in relation to what other board members have said, I think it's some really great positive changes to behavioral outcomes that we're looking for. But my first question goes to data governance, because that's one of my concerns. And the concern is around the task force. Over the last couple of years, our discipline task force has done a lot of really good work. And one of the things that the discipline task force has been able to do on an annual basis is show us, here's the progress that has been made from one year to the next. And the progress is in these level 1 offenses. They've been able to bin and categorize, this is why these students are being suspended or given discipline. And so the concern of the question here is, how does this affect that report or affect our ability to do a comparison? So next year in October, when we look at the task force report, are we going to be able to really compare across the last 2 years to see what kind of progress we've been making?
Well, I think one thing to know, some of the language remained the same around what the rules were. So we've always, if you look at our current Rights and Responsibilities Handbook, we have all of those rules that are listed there are customized to Newport News Public Schools. But on the back end, we've always had state codes that we would tie those into. So moving forward, now what we're doing, basically, what you see now in the new Rights and Responsibilities Handbook in the code, it is the exact same thing that happens on the back end that's reported to the state. So the front and the back are exactly the same. So in some ways, we will be able to compare. But in other ways, we're really going to have new data as far as especially around our interventions that are now listed as actual sanctions in our dealings with challenging student behavior.
And then the second question, I think, just to piggyback on what Ms. Amon was pointing out earlier, I do think that probably the board will benefit from a Rights and Responsibilities Handbook, which just has this year's and then next year's with the crossouts there on whatever the pages are, and if we could have that prior to next month, that would facilitate us being able to really fully understand the decision we're making.
And it might just be, I'll interject here just a bit, it might just be that you need to just do it in different color ink, because it sounds, from what I heard when you responded, was that it's almost a total reorganization of the way without the levels. So if the old page even, or the whole paragraph or section could be, this is what has been changed for the new year.
And or replace. We can definitely work on that. I think the piece that the board needs to understand is the state changed the discipline coding, and so there's probably sections that are just not there anymore. So, and his committee actually had to take what the state had changed. Now, the good news is we were already on the track of putting interventions in our discipline practices before a teacher writes a referral. So calling the parent, assigning time with the student, looking at interventions prior to a removal from instruction. The state pretty much is catching up with where we are in terms of our disciplinary procedures. A few years ago, we understood that we needed to reduce the number of suspensions and removals from instruction. So we wanted to know and quantify what are we doing in Tier 1, the classroom, to minimize behavior prior to a student's removal from instruction. So we, in our discipline reporting that we provide every October, we share what those interventions may have been and how consistent we are following those prior to a referral being written, and then also how consistently that referral is being followed in terms of our disciplinary practices. The state has now systemized that, and it caused him to have to obviously now have to restructure the language and a lot of other areas of that discipline booklet. But I just want to make sure that's the big picture, that we're currently doing what the state is asking us to do, and now they're just systemizing what we have already put in place in terms of how we handle student discipline in Newport News. So we'll definitely work on that. I know it's a fairly lengthy document. We definitely want the board to have an opportunity to review this language. And if you feel you're not ready on July 1 to come to consensus on this packet, we I think one year we presented it in October and August, excuse me, not that late, August.
Yeah.
But we do have to print it and make sure we have it for every parent and everything at the beginning of the school year. So we'll try to be expeditious, but we definitely would like to encourage the board to bring this booklet for consideration at the July 1 meeting. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Dr. Ransom, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, then we'll move on to item 5.04, which is our 2021-2022 student fees. Dr. Parker.
Yes, sir. I have Dr. Jones here to present student fees. We started this practice last year. One of the things we noticed was not on previous board agendas was just to bring some discussion and a presentation on student fees each year to the board, just so that you not only as the board but the community is aware prior to that going into print for the upcoming school year. So Dr. Jones, the Executive Director of Curriculum and Development, will do that for us every year, and she's here this evening to present the student fees scheduled for next year.
Good evening, Chairman Brown, Vice Chair Searles Law, board members, and Dr. Parker. The purpose of this presentation is to share student fees as part of the board policy and public information. The entire student schedule will be posted on the Newport News Public Schools website. However, I will provide an overview of fee changes as well as information for you this evening. When developing the student fee list, alignment to the Newport News Public Schools Strategic Plan Journey 2025 is highly considered. The strategic goals that are associated with instructional fees include student success, enhanced partnerships, and the stewardship of resources. The student fee process engages many stakeholders, to include the collection of fee requests from schools and departments, collaboration with Department of School Leadership, Curriculum and Development, and Finance, sharing with principals and supervisors for input, and finally revising and publishing the fee schedule on the Newport News website. Student fees are provided for students in Synergy each year. Since most fees are collected at the beginning of the school year, parents and students can log into Student View to view these fees at the beginning of the school year. Fees may be paid in person at your child's school or through the online student fund site. However, there is a 4% service charge for using this site. Equitable practices are integrated in our daily operations. Therefore, no student is ever denied resources or participation due to the inability to pay. Additionally, payment plan options are available for families who need assistance. Middle school fees are associated with elective or related arts courses. Middle school art, theater, chorus, band, and orchestra fees are based on semester or year-long courses. The fees include hands-on and digital resources such as music sight reading apps, which students can use at home or school. The new charge for the 2021 school year, the new change for the 2021 school year is that students will not be charged instrumental rental fees. As you can see, this is a $35 and a $50 savings for our students and families. High school fees are very similar to the middle school fees, and the funds are also used to provide access to digital or material resources that students can use at home and at school. Also for high school students, instrumental rental fees have been waived for the 2021-22 school year. Uniform fees for band, chorus, and orchestra vary by school depending on the types of performances being held. Most of the fees in career and technical education are for online resources, hands-on labs, robotics kits, and or consumable materials. There are no changes to the career and technical education fees for the upcoming school year. Students are not charged any technology fees for use of devices or internet hotspots. Technology fees are only charged for lost or damaged equipment. Each piece of equipment and fee is outlined in the Rights and Responsibilities Handbook. For example, an AC power adapter. Students are required to use the official manufacturer's power cord or charger. Use of a third party and a generic power adapter can cause possible damage or harm. So adapters are often lost by students, so we try to explain to them the importance of taking care of equipment. Other student fees include costs for driver's education. It is $225 for Newport News students and $250 for any student who is not a Newport News student. No locker fees are charged or required for health and PE. However, if a student loses the lock, they are charged a fee of $5. Sports medicine remains at $15 per year for individual hands-on kits and supplies. The cost for lost or damaged textbooks, library books, and supplies, such as calculators, are prorated based on the age of the product. Student tuition fees for students who are out of the Newport News Public Schools School Division and or state are established by policies JFAB and DFG, which prescribe that the tuition rate is based on the operating revenue from the city funds and sales tax divided by the projected ADM for the 2021-22 school year. There was a slight increase in tuition for out-of-division and non-residents for the 2021-22 school year. During the 2019-20 school year, 9 students paid tuition and 81 students received waivers whose parents are employees in the division. For this current year, 7 students paid tuition while 94 received waivers because their parents were employees in the division. Again, all student fees will be posted on the Newport News Public Schools website, as well as available on Parent and Student View and at each individual school. Are there any questions?
Questions? Yes, Dr. Bess.
Okay. Thank you for your presentation. I have two, related to 2 items. You talked about the equity and no student will be denied because they don't have the funds. Can you tell me a little bit about how you would make accommodations for band uniforms and for the behind-the-wheel portion of driver's ed?
So each school has their own policy for students reporting, generally to the guidance counselors if they are having trouble paying for any particular item at their school, and the schools have a protocol in which they assist students either through making payments or even waiving the fee. And a lot of times that is based on students who receive free and reduced lunch. That has something that we've used in the past.
Thank you.
Okay.
Other questions? All right, well, I'll just ask one or 2 questions. It's about parking, and isn't there essentially a summer school tuition fee? Are those 2 fees that we do have that'll be included?
Student parking for summer school?
No, student parking in general at all of our high schools, and then summer school tuition.
I don't know the answer for the student parking. Dr. Barnett, come on up.
Partner. Yes, we do provide parking passes for our students who drive to school. That pass is typically between $5 to $10 that the schools designate, and they have their own protocol for collecting those fees, and those schools will publish that.
Okay, wonderful.
Question.
Thank you, Ms. Geely, yes.
What if a child can't afford the $10 or $15 for a parking fee? Then what?
Just as Dr. Jones stated, if there's a difficulty with the student being able to pay for the pass, that pass is for the year. But if there's a difficulty, of course, our schools are willing to work with families if needed.
Where does that money go towards?
Those parking fees that are collected often go towards student activities, senior activities. Many of our seniors or juniors drive, so a lot of those funds will go towards activities that go back to our students.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. So, wonderful report, and look forward to seeing the fee schedule. I think it's a great bit of transparency.
Question?
Oh, there's another question, Mr. Moody. Yes.
Yeah, Dr. Jones, just briefly, could you once again go and elaborate on if a student is not able to or does not have the funds, what is the protocol for that? And does it vary by each school? Or what do you know about that? Just for any students or any parents that may be listening as we embark upon this new year.
Generally, students go to the guidance counselors if they have a situation with being able to pay, and then the counselor will reach out to the principal and the bookkeeper to make arrangements for that student.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
All right, next on our agenda is 5.05, the attendance report, 5.06, the membership report, and 5.07, the construction report. Board members, you have received copies of these reports in your packets. Are there any questions at this time? Hearing none, then we'll move on to item 5.08, comments by the superintendent. Dr. Parker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, I'd like to, again, thank our staff for the detailed reports and for the information shared with our community this evening. We're looking forward to, welcoming our students for summer programming in the next few weeks. We know it's been a long year, but we have some great things planned for Spark, and I think Newport News we set ourselves apart from a lot of school divisions by the quality of summer programming that we provide, both academic and enrichment, and for students over the summer. So we have a lot of STEM-related activities, fine arts, and other things that students can take advantage of. And we always like to work with community partners to make sure we can enhance students' summer experience. So if students are still on the fence, or parents, in terms of whether your child should attend summer school or Summer Spark, please consider it. And especially if you've received an invitation from us, we want the best for your student. We want your student to be successful. So I reached out to teachers a while back and said, asked for the help so that they're available to teach your child. And now I'm reaching out to parents and saying, we need your children. So we're gonna build a very strong summer experience, and everyone needs to do their part. So we hope to see all of our students in summer programming this summer who have been invited, and our virtual learners as well, to have those activities available to them wherever they may go. So with that being said, Mr. Chairman, I'll start with my remarks. As we conclude the last week of an eventful school year, I've been reflecting on what we've accomplished together to support our students and families. I want to take just a moment to thank our staff for their commitment and dedicated work this year. Across the school division during this pandemic, you stood up and stood out. Your actions truly made a difference to our students and our families. Our values as a school division were on display last week as over 1,600 students walked across the stage at Todd Stadium and received their well-deserved diploma in front of thousands of guests in attendance. It was a proud time for all of us. I'd like to take a moment to share some interesting facts about the class of 2021. This year's graduates earned over $30 million in scholarship offers and academic awards. The class of 2021 was accepted into 122 colleges, universities, and military institutions in the United States and abroad. And 69 graduates completed the early college program at Thomas Nelson Community College and earned between 13 and 20 transferable college credits. That's a high number. 69 is a good number for a year in a pandemic. Newport News Public Schools has laid the groundwork for these graduates. Now these young people are prepared for future success. So we'd like to all say congratulations to the class of 2021 and their families. We also had the opportunity to celebrate our Teachers of the Year, not only for 2021, but also 2020, because we were unable to do so last year in the pandemic. So we brought both groups in to celebrate our 2020 and 2021 Teachers of the Year in a special event held at Todd Stadium. It was an evening of tribute and thanks to 87 teachers who are inspiring, motivating, and educating our next generation. Teachers whose efforts are ensuring that all students graduate college, career, and citizen ready. We also acknowledged Mitzi Emblich, a music teacher at Riverside Elementary School, who was named the Elementary School Teacher of the Year for the 2021-2022 school year for Newport News Public Schools. And best wishes to Tiona Staten, I want to make sure I pronounce this right, Tiana Staten, a math teacher at Crittenden Middle School, who was named the Middle School Teacher of the Year, and Nicole Cook, a librarian at Minchville High School, who was selected as the High School Teacher of the Year. Congratulations again to all of our Teacher of the Year honorees. And we also recognize the accomplishments of our exemplary support staff for the 2020 and 2021 school year last week during an event at Warwick High School. It was an honor to celebrate and acknowledge the dedication and commitment of our 96 support staff honorees. During the program, it was great to hear how each of the honorees made a difference through their dedicated service to our school division. It was an impressive list of accomplishments. Congratulations again to our support staff of the year, and please keep up the good work. Special thanks to our Education Foundation for their ongoing support of the annual Salute to Success program, which has honored our top high school students for over 20 years. And more recently, our students who have earned 4 or more industry certifications. We held a hybrid awards celebration for our 39 student honorees this year on June 3rd. And Foundation President, Dr. Robin Nelhubel, Member John McMillan, Doctors Wayne and Rebecca Lett, Chairman Mr. Brown, and Mr. Jordan Moody joined us in the auditorium as we recognized our students with a special pre-recorded ceremony narrated by Wavy TV anchor Katie Collette. The event was broadcast live via TV and Facebook. Mr. Moody, our student representative to the school board, was awarded the Wayne D. Lett Scholarship, which is a merit-based award of $10,000 given to a Newport News Public School senior who plans to become a teacher. Congratulations to Jordan and other student honorees, and again, thank you to the Newport News Education Foundation. And finally, I would encourage our students and families to come out this week and support the wonderful Juneteenth activities that are taking place around this great city. To ensure that everyone has access to this information, we are posting Juneteenth events on our school division webpage. So please visit our webpage or the city's webpage for more information regarding Juneteenth activities. And that concludes my report for this evening, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Parker. Well, now we'll move on to item 6, which is an opportunity to hear from the public one more time. Madam Clerk, are there any cards? All right. Seeing no cards at this time, then we will move on to matters by the school board. And last one this year, Mr. Moody.
Yes, sir. Thank you once again. This has been a great honor, great honor to serve in the capacity of student representative to the school board. I thank you all. Y'all have seen the letters, and I just wanted to let you all know, school board members, how much you have poured into me. And I thank you all for entrusting me with this very, very important position. As the conclusion of the school year has arrived, my brother was actually a little excited because today was his last in-person day of school, and he'll finish the school year out virtually, as was suggested by his school. And so I commend all the students, both in person and virtual, for staying during these turbulent and these difficult times, unprecedented. I know you heard that word many times. These times, I commend you. Teachers, I thank you for all that you all have done. I thank the executive staff, Dr. Parker, fantastic leadership, and even if they did not award all 133 Virginia Superintendent of the Year, I'd still make a little plaque for you, sir, and give it to you because you have earned it. I would like to once again congratulate and recognize, spotlight Amaya Patterson, a senior at Woodside High School. I am excited for you. I'm godly proud of you. And let me tell you this quick story. At Crittenden, Amaya was with me at Crittenden, and I was the assistant band director at Crittenden. We had the pep band, and so that was the band that instructed and guided and was at all of the pep rallies and all of the basketball games and the volleyball games. And so then when I left to go to Woodside, then Amaya showed up and she took my spot. And so it's just so funny that she's doing the same thing all over. I'm so proud of you, Amaya. And I cannot wait to see the great things that you're going to do. In this last meeting, I just want to thank all of our teachers once again, the staff, administrators, our school board, our senior staff, our technology department, Mr. Berry, Mr. Jenkins. Y'all done held me down with all the questions and all that. I thank you for that. Our YD team, if I could, just spotlight them, Mr. Michael Nichols in his absence, Dr. Ransom. But Miss Adams and Miss Buckingham, I just want to thank you all for all that you do. I've seen hand in hand. I've worked with you all year. You've answered every single call I ever sent, every single text I ever sent. But for the work that you've done, not just for me, but for the entirety of the students in Newport News Public Schools, I thank you, and I thank you for showing up for me at my last school board meeting. It really does mean a lot. And last but not least, I want to thank the students for trusting me. You didn't know me. Many of you didn't know me. Some of you still don't know me. But I am grateful for those relationships and those connections that we have made while I was holding this position. Mr. Chairman, as I conclude, can I do some reflecting over? Sure. Okay, all right. I want to reflect over my time and my tenure as the student representative to the Newport News Public Schools School Board. And I would like to share with you a story and observation I have made about water, but more specifically the two phases, solid and liquid. Water itself is so interesting simply because it is one of the only physical things that can change rather quickly. See, when you keep water cool or even to the point of freezing, it can keep everything cool. It can keep everything nice and comfortable. And as we enter to June, we're going to need some ice on our Pepsi and in our water and in our lemonade. It can keep everything nice and cool. When ice or the solid phase gets a little warm, it can turn and will turn from ice into water. But the cool thing about H2O is that even if it turns into ice, or from ice to water, it can still turn from water back into ice. But if water were to get too hot, it could evaporate. Am I right, Dr. Mangum? It could evaporate, literally meaning it will no longer be of existence. And I'm not trying to teach a science lesson here, rather to share with everyone, the students, staff, and community, something very important that I learned this year. That no matter how upset you get, how much you think things should have gone another way, or even how you thought that you were presenting a fantastic idea, to never be distracted and infuriated with the outcome or the answer that you begin to lose your joy, lose your peace, and lose your sense of happiness. The world didn't give you this joy, and the world can't take it away. And so with that being said, you should never, ever, ever let your current condition affect your future realities. As I am closing, all I wanted to really say was to never take or to never allow yourself to be so upset, I'm talking from experience here, that you turn into the point of evaporation. Each and every day you wake up, your day starts like a piece of ice. Yeah, things will get thrown at you from side to side, but stay in those two phases of either being a solid or a liquid, but do not ever turn into a gas. Because once you turn into a gas, your joy, your personality has been taken away. You control your feelings, you control your attitude, and you control your destiny. So don't let anything that people say or do affect your life, your attitude, or your future. You control it, so let it be great and stay cool like water. I want to thank you all once again for allowing me to serve in this capacity. I am honored. I thank you all. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you. And that concludes my remarks, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Moody. So we should have let you go last.
Should have.
So I guess, Mr. Ely, you're the victim. We're going to have you go follow that.
And I was praying like, okay, he's going to call Dr. Bass. She's right beside him. That's the order. But you want to call on me. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Moody did an amazing job. We're definitely going to miss you. You was definitely one of a kind. You was engaged with the students, you was engaged with the board, engaged with the superintendent, and you was a true advocate for children. And that's what it's about when you, the student rep, being an advocate for children and not an advocate for yourself. And you always put the community first and put the citizens of Newport News first. And you're going to do great things. I can't wait to see you come back to Newport News, become a teacher, become a superintendent, and do wonderful things for Newport News. We look for great things out of you, and thank you again for your service for Newport News Public School System. I also like to thank the staff, the teachers, the custodians, the bus drivers. Y'all had 1 year. You put a lot of hard work into it, a lot of long nights, a lot of dedication. The reports that y'all given us was very helpful. Going from asymptom, what's the asynchronous? I ain't never heard of that word. To virtual. You made it happen. You know, the teachers, the long hours, you know, even with some of the teachers that are clients of mine, didn't know anything about how to navigate virtual. To John, I got it. It's working good. So thank you, teachers. Hats off to you for teaching during the pandemic. This is something unprecedented that nobody ever would have expected would have happened. And our teachers, our staff, our superintendent made it easier for everyone to navigate. And even Michelle, you know, putting out the information to the parents, that's definitely, you know, was a blessing, trying to make sure our community is engaged and knowing what's going on. Also, I'd like to thank the community for rallying behind the school system. We was in this together. It wasn't just the school board, it wasn't just the teachers, it was a community of all. I know I call Dr. Best at least once a week, whether I'm crying, whether I'm sad, you know, it was just so many emotions doing this because you wanted to make the right decision. You wanted to make sure your teachers were comfortable, your staff was comfortable. Do we take the teachers out of school, or do we send the kids back? You didn't know what to do, but through this board, we worked very hard together. Douglas Brown, our chairman, hats off to you. We would get at least 30 to 40 emails a day, and Douglas would respond to each and every one of them. I said, this man deserved 10 bonuses, but he definitely navigated us through. Him and Lisa, our vice chair, they did an amazing job navigating through a pandemic. I know I couldn't have done it. Also, I'd like to thank Riverside and Centerra, our hospitals. They jumped right in to make sure that the community was vaccinated. Yeah. When I talked to other friends in other localities, they would still vaccinate the senior citizens, where we were on a different phase, vaccinating everyone. So I definitely want to give a big thank you to Riverside Hospital and Centerra for being community champions, stepping up to the plate, all the healthcare workers, just the staff, just making sure people volunteering, making sure the Hampton Roads area, Newport News and Hampton, were vaccinated for all the ones that want to be vaccinated. And I just want to, you know, on that topic, I just want to say again, thank y'all for all y'all was with me last year. This is my anniversary of having COVID. Last year, I didn't know if I was going to make it around this time, but God was good. I'm here and want to continue to do great things for Newport News. So thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Ely. All right, Dr. Best.
Good evening. I'll be brief. One of the things that we say out on the street is that game recognizes game. And I consider myself a very, very hardworking person. And I think that I recognize people that are hardworking people. And the people in Newport News Public Schools are some of the hardest working people I have ever in my life seen, from the cafeteria staff to the custodians to the teachers to all of the social workers. A special shout out to the professional school counselors. What you all have accomplished this year is just I can't even put it in words. And I said to Dr. Parker when we were recognizing him, thank you for not quitting, because I could never have his job. It's just so much and so many moving pieces. For those of you that worked with the high school graduations, it was a pleasure to sit in the audience, to just come and be an observer. But I am an observer, and I watched you all work. Dr. Barnett, the pieces just moved seamlessly. I watched the different staff members when there was a need here or something. I don't even know how some of you all had radios, but some didn't, but they were just all over the place getting it all done. And it was just amazing to watch, because game recognizes game, and you all are the hardest working people I have pretty much ever seen in my life. To Jordan, just congratulations. I wish you much success. He has been an inspiration to me. I always learn from young people, and he has truly been an inspiration. I'm not sad to see him go, because he's going to Norfolk State University, and I cannot wait to see the wonderful work that he does there. So congratulations. I wish you much success. And last but certainly not least, again, thank you to all the fellow board members for your continuous support. We worked together as a team to get that sign up at Huntington. For some people, they say, well, that sign does not mean that much. That sign has put so much pride and hope into the community. I shared with the chairperson that I just posted a picture of that sign. It received 66 shares, not likes. It was hundreds of likes, but 66 shares. And as we were taking pictures in front of the school, people in the community were stopping by and saying thank you, because it gave the community hope. So thank you for that. Thank you to my fellow colleagues for this year, because it's been rough. It's been real rough. And a special thank you to the chair and the vice chair for your leadership. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Best. Okay. Ms. Amon.
Okay, thank you, Chairman Brown, and I will try to be brief too. I think in my house at least, we're all counting down the days to the last day of the school year, and I'm sure we all are here too. But I'll just echo what everyone has said. It has been quite the year, quite an eventful year, and I just want to give my thanks to everyone, the staff, the teachers, the students, the leadership, as to how this year has gone. It's been uncharted territory. And I think you guys have all met it with grace and strength and resilience and creativity. So it's been a challenge, but it's been a good year, and I'm excited to see what we've got planned for the summer. And next year, I think everything we went through, some of the challenges with online learning and coming back, I think it's going to pay dividends. The teachers and students kind of know the interface, and I'm excited to see how the summer goes and excited to see how this new blended learning, what we can do with that. So hopefully it'll turn out to have many silver linings. So I just, and Jordan, it's been a pleasure to work with you. You have done great things during your career here at Newport News, and we expect and we are sure we will see great things from you during your time in college and thereafter. So I wish you the best. And to all the students, we're almost there. A couple more days. Just if you're going to be doing some summer school, enjoy it and enjoy some downtime. Take the time you need to rest and recharge. If you're not doing in-person learning, check out some of the online activities or read a book. Enjoy your time with friends and family, and we'll all look forward to getting back together this coming September, rested and ready to jump in again.
Thank you, Ms. Amon. Mr. Hunter.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Great things are happening in Newport News Public Schools. So first, I'm going to start off. Congratulations to Mr. Moody. I know you're going to do great things over at the Behold, the Green and Gold. But we look forward to your return here back to Newport News in about 4 years, if not earlier, the pace that you're going. But again, congratulations to you. Again, congratulations to you as well, winning, being a recipient of one of our Capital Leaguers scholarships. Again, congratulations. You get lots of money. So, and when the Kappa men, when we look and see great men, you are one of them. So, just want to say congratulations again from my fraternity, Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. So, a job well done. I want to say again, we had a wonderful virtue salute to success, Newport News Education Foundation. That was a great deal. I've got to give a special shout out to the One City Wake Up and Read event. I have some special folks there that work there. I really want to give a big round shout out, if you're watching today, to our family engagement specialists. They've done a phenomenal job, and all of those social workers and all the teachers that came out. I think we auctioned off or raffled some 20 bikes and helmets. I mean, it was just phenomenal to have the young kids out, getting up and reading and playing games. I mean, it was just another wonderful event put on by the Newport News public school system. So I want to say thank you to them. Congratulations to our Teachers of the Year and our Exemplary Support Staff of the Year, both two great programs, well deserved. And to close, I'm going to, this is really special to me. I know if you're out there watching, I want to say congratulations to my beautiful bride. After 41 years of education, I learned a lot. She did 38 of those here in Newport News Public Schools. And on Monday, the 31st, the 21st is going to be her last day of employment here in the Newport News Public Schools. But she has, she is probably one of the reasons why, I'm on the school board, because I live with an educator, and she absolutely loves students and kids, and in her next adventure, it's going to be dealing again with kids as well. So if you're watching out there, congratulations, enjoy yourself, and not too many honeydews when I get home. And that being said, Mr. Enjoy your summer, and please, all the students, please go up and read a book. If not a book, a magazine. If not a magazine, a newspaper. If not a magazine, how about the internet? Just get up and read something. Try to read something each and every day. If not every day, at least once a week. And be safe.
Thank you, Mr. Hunter. All right, Madam Vice Chair.
Well, I told Jordan I wasn't going to tell him goodbye, so I'm not going to, because I expect him to come back and visit. You have been a blessing to us, to the whole district, but to us as a team too, so thank you for that. I don't believe that in my time on the board I have seen a student rep come to all the graduations, and that was really indicative of who you are. And we really appreciate that about you. And you came to Teacher of the Year, and you came to support staff. And if I'm not mistaken, support staff was on the day you graduated. Am I right? Yes, it was. Okay, so thank you so much. We appreciate you, and we wish you all the best. I guess Dr. Best said game knows game, and the way that I was going to say it is you did your job. Everybody who had a job in this district did it. And you did it well, because we wouldn't be where we are today if you hadn't. We might have all grumbled. I'm going to be one of the first to say, it's like, oh no, we've got to figure that out. Oh, I didn't know we were going to have to do that. I'm sure that teachers, I'm sure that support staff, I'm sure that folks had to clean things. It's like, I have to clean that? We did our jobs. And we did it with a happy heart for the most part. And that is why we are where we are today. One that I want to give a special shout out to was the one that I pined away about during our very early times of getting in this pandemic. And that was going virtual. How in the world were we going to get one-to-one when we were supposed to do that in 5 years, not 1 year, and get everybody connected? And get hotspots out, and get internet in homes. Jenkins, you did it. Thank you. And then we had to figure out what to do with it once he did it. And somehow we did that as well. So I am just seeing all of the benefits, all of the great things that we've done this year. This pandemic, if nothing else, I think we were supposed to learn grace. I really do. I think we were supposed to learn grace for others and for ourselves. And I've seen that. I've seen it so much in the work that we've been able to do. And the other thing that I think we were supposed to learn is not to take anything for granted. So let's make sure that we don't take our summer for granted, enjoy it, and come back with our sleeves rolled up and ready to work. And then the last thing I want to say is thank you to this fellow. He and I love to do this and crack jokes and everything else. He has done a phenomenal job leading the board this year. It has been an honor to serve with you, Douglas.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, try not to get all teary-eyed, because this has really just been we all know it's been a challenging year. This is the end of our year. We began the year with one of our board members in the hospital, and we're ending the year with one of our board members in the hospital. It's just been one of those years that it was always one thing after another, right? But through it all, you guys have persevered, been strong. You've been cheerful. Everyone has worked diligently and risen to the challenge.
So I appreciate all of you, and appreciate the trust that you placed in me, and I thank God for that every day, that you all place this level of trust in me. And just like Mr. Moody, we set the example of control what you can control, and that's how we got through this.
That's right.
Focus on our jobs, set examples. We worked hard, and just like Mr. Moody worked hard and thought about what else could we do, what can we do next, what can we try next. Mr. Moody did a talk show. We didn't even know how we were going to get kids in school, and Mr. Moody had a talk show going. Then as Vice Chair mentioned, he came into every single graduation. That's the first time a student rep has ever done that. Came to every single graduation, just what else can I do? How hard can we go? We dug down. We had a really aggressive plan that we laid out at our retreat this last summer, and knew this was going to be a challenging year, and with everything going on, and we said, let's go for master board. We did that. You all committed to, it was over 20 hours of additional work and retreats and everything to get better? What else can we do? How can we raise our game? How can we show everyone that we're doing everything that we possibly can do? And on top of that, this has been a whole 2-year process. We tonight are going to get our board of distinction. We're going to get our application in. We've hit all the criteria, all 12. There's 12 different pieces of criteria. It took 2 years of doing this, but it's made us a better board. We had to go to a day-long retreat session every year. We had to do our superintendent evaluation. We had to update the strategic plan, which we got that done. We had to update our policy manual. We put out a 4-year process and get every single chapter updated. We all had to sign a code of conduct. We all committed to that. You all didn't bat an eye at the code of conduct. We developed a division-wide communications plan. Participated in the VSBA Delegate Assembly. Thank you, Madam Vice Chair, for taking that leadership role and doing that for us this year. We had to present at the VSBA annual conference. Dr. Mitchell presented on social emotional learning. We were a featured division in the state for what we do in social emotional learning at the state level. We did our self-evaluation. All of you got personal goals. Y'all gave me your personal goals. I had to, me and the clerk had to chase you down, beat you up, but all of you got your personal goals in. So we have our self-improvement plan. All right. Every board member has gone to at least a certificate of recognition level with the VSBA School Board of Academy for at least the last 2 consecutive years. Participated in the Legislative Advocacy Conference, did the Capitol Conference. We did the Spring Network Forum. Heck, we were the host, right, this year around. Did Hot Topic conferences. Ms. Amon led us out, closed out the year with the Law Conference, leading us in that. Conference on Education and a convention. We had to do media honor roll, business honor roll, bullying prevention month, take your legislator to school month. All of that work, we did it in the year of a pandemic, in addition to transitioning to virtual learning, asynchronous instruction, everything going on, we did it. And you all didn't bat an eye. I really am truly blessed to be amongst a board that, when challenged, didn't bat an eye. I was nervous saying, I don't know, should we do this? Should we try it? And you all said, yeah, let's do it. And everything that we asked for, you all said, let's do it. And that really focused me and made me, want to work hard for you. And I appreciate the opportunity to work hard for all of you. So I want to say to everybody up here, I love all of you, but let's not do this again. So next year, we'll go back to regular, 5 days a week, and everybody coming to school every day, and no more of this. We're going to have our virtual academy, but we're going back to a normal year next year. So you all have a fantastic summer. We'll see everyone again July 1st. Please stay safe.